A very good morning to you and welcome to Rise and Shine Daily. It's a Friday, of course, the last working day of the week, and we're super delighted to welcome you once again to another great show and another great time on Rise and Shine. My name is Janice Coburn. Welcome.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Batim State. It's a beautiful Friday to be alive. A great day to say thank you and rise and shine wherever you are. My name is Uyai Anekan, and I am delighted to be here this morning. Of course, I would like for you to be a part of this very lovely community. Are you already following us across all the social media platforms? Let more people know that you have found a station that gives you value for your time. So follow us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Our phone lines will also be displayed on your screen in the course of the program. Feel free to call in and also send us WhatsApp or text messages. We'd love to get those contributions from you this morning. Of course, thanks for joining us once again. Janice, good morning. For a minute, when you were saying, "Oh, it's the last working day," and all, I was nearly like, "Someone to shout hallelujah." My hands were like going up in the air. I already raised them in my mind. I just said, like,
You just dropped it back
let me
because
leave
you,
it.
you know that there's
But like,
nothing like holiday. Yeah.
what?
Anyways,
It feels good, Sha. Somehow,
yeah.
just say, okay, we have done another week. I just like,
Exactly. Doing another week and
mm,
very successful as well.
yeah,
We have something to be grateful for.
yeah.
And the fact that I was having a conversation away from, the cameras and all, and someone says, oh, can't there be a public holiday for traditionalists? I'm like, come on, we've had how many public holidays already? And the person is like, so if we can have public holiday for Easter, for a Ramadan,
Oh
for
yeah,
Workers'
oh yeah.
Day, and all of that, that means those that are traditionalists should, have a public holiday or
If they
something.
want to have a public holiday, they should push for it.
But aside from that, do they like work the normal way that work is supposed to be done?
Traditionally,
Yeah,
if
they
they are
work at their leisure.
incorporated. No,
So
but if they are like incorporated into mainstream life, of course they work like every other normal human being,
exactly,
wear clothes like normal human beings that
yeah,
go
yeah,
to
I know,
places.
but the point is they work at their leisure, so they have a lot of time on
Public
their
holiday.
hands. Yes.
No, but you know that maybe when you're thinking of traditionalists, you're thinking like the clergymen of these traditionalists. What of the
Oh, really?
the church, the traditional members of the traditional?
Anyways, welcome once again to Rise and Shine. This is just us, having fun this morning. Of course, it's a Friday, and normally our Fridays are lifestyle Fridays. So we encourage you to exercise more, yes. Drink a lot of water, yes. Take a lot of vitamins, yes. Especially now that you've done the whole work from Monday
Mhm.
through to Friday. I think it's now time for you to like take a lot of rest and recoup the energy, the lost energy of the week. That would also help you. And then I think do a lot of meditations now. Brood over your week. How did you spend it? Did you check all your boxes, like all the things you set out to achieve for the week? Didn't you check some? Why didn't you check? And all of that. And then of course you get to have the energy and vitality to also plan for the coming week.
Well, meditation is good, and especially like trying to check your boxes. Did I
Yeah.
do this? Did I do that? It
Mm.
also really helps,
Yeah.
especially like you said, so that you can go fresh and like make sure you don't have like carryovers with work. Whatever the work. No more time for procrastination. More like just do it, hit the nail on the head right now. But that's why we also attempt to hit the nail on the head when we bring in these conversations and rise and shine. Talking Nigeria, talking the issues at
Yeah.
hand. We don't want you to be lost. If you say, okay, what's happening in Nigeria today? Let me watch Spectrum Television, Rise and Shine. I'm gonna get all the gist. That's what this is about,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So like a lot of things happening in Nigeria, and then we'll just run quickly to our flash
Flash
just
news.
for the
Morning.
morning. We have the fact that the fourth public relations officer, Olumiwa Adejobi, has called for an investigation into a certain viral video of police officer assaulting a man who refused to release his phone to them. A tweet on Wednesday shared a video of officers assaulting a man tagging the accounts of the Nigeria Police Force and the Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin. Now, the video was captioned "No drugs, nothing, no evidence." Why asking for phone for no reason? I don't know why. Hashtag Police Nigeria, hashtag Benjamin Hundeyin. Now, reacting to the video, the force spokesperson said, "Ben, fish out these policemen for investigation. We need to look into this. And the victim should send an SMS to me personally, as I need some information from him or them. I'm interested in this disgusting scene and drama. Thank you." Okay?
Yeah.
Viral
Serious,
video.
serious issues. This is the viral video where you find the police officers molesting a young man, and this more like, the more we talk about these things, the more punitive measures are given, the more even police personnel get to face like harsh rebuttals, the more we continue to see these things. Is it that we're not learning lessons?
Yeah.
Or just like you would say, it's time for, the police force now to have like a psychology test
Yeah.
on their personnel
Yeah.
to find out what exactly the problem is and how they can help these police officers as well. Because for me at this point, I just feel that some of these men need help. Okay, now aside from all of the plenty talks on, oh, the police is not well taken care of, and in terms of welfare, you go to the barracks, you see very deplorable buildings. All of these things have a way of playing with their psychology, and they come out in the mornings on road checks, and they unleash the anger that they are facing, or the psychological trauma that they are going through. They get to unleash it on citizens, and we've seen that the police helmsman now has been trying to like cleanse and purge the system. But the more we continue to see these things, the more the police forces, continue to go against the ethics of even the profession that they're working for. And it brings me to a point where we begin to ask questions. We are even saying that there are not enough personnel in the Nigerian police force. I remember also that during the campaign, someone like Tinubu was saying that, they are going to recruit how many thousands of youths into the Nigerian police force. And he had so many claps back, on social media. But that's the truth. We are lacking even hands in the police. It's really a serious situation here.
It's alarming, the amount of these incidents that we're seeing popping up on the internet every now and then. One would wonder, is the police force not even briefing, its personnel after each of these kinds of things? Do we have coordinated conversations with the men in our unit after these kinds of videos that pop up on the internet? What conversations has the likes of Benjamin Hundeyin, every CP, CSP, and all of that at their different levels? Have you called your men? Why are you easily triggered when you are on the road? We always say psychological analysis is now a matter of necessity in the Nigeria Police Force.
Yeah.
Because initially it was more like, how we joke around with these things, it was the Nigerian army that you would never try in that kind of way. And even so, the Nigerian army, they're not necessarily easily triggered. It has to, like, you have really pushed before they exert those kinds of things. But in recent times, we have seen the men of the Nigeria Police Force really go above and beyond with manhandling citizens. Even when you suspect that someone has, a wrong item on them, you thought that you got an intel, that's not the way to go about it. There is a process that leads to someone being arrested and all of that. Manhandling a person when they haven't even been proven guilty of a crime is also a crime against the person. It's a crime against humanity. So how do you just in broad daylight see people going about their activities? And this new surge and interest in, I need to check your phone, I need to check your laptop. I mean, we're living in the 21st century. Everyone works with, what would I call it, like Yahoo business, or doing something that is wrong. Everyone is living in the tech space, and we need a gadget to work. And I mean, everyone who has a braid on or a funny haircut also is not necessarily someone getting something, doing something bad. Ask the proper questions. When we go back to even psychology, it is expected that the men on our roads can read body language. they can
Yeah.
read eyes, they can read responses. So that if you think that this person is a suspicious, like, innocent
Innocent.
of, whatever it is, and the fact that policemen on the roads do not like to be questioned is another surprising thing, because sometimes you find out that some of these people that get manhandled are the people that are like,
What did
excuse me,
I
sir, what did I
do?
do? You can't talk to
Yes.
me that way. I know
Yes.
my rights. And then
Exactly.
the next thing the person thinks is above God, and starts misbehaving. There needs to be a proper lecture, an overhaul of what these people have in their heads on our roads, and just having them, tagging Benjamin Hundeyin in the Nigerian police sometimes is not going to be enough. We need to really see other proactive measures, and this goes beyond disciplinary measures also. There is need for us to find a new way to work around our policemen. If
Yeah.
the sun is too hot, let them stay in the offices. Something. It's just not, because we don't want to lose fathers,
So are
husbands.
they acting because of the harshness of the
Sometimes we
sun or
say, when we
something?
put that their welfare is bad, maybe they
Yeah.
do not have
And
salaries.
then they are under the sun.
Yes, and they've been under the sun.
I think that aside from that, also
Yeah.
there's been so many reported cases of the police personnel. Some of the police personnel,
Yeah.
taking too much of alcohol and then
Oh, yeah.
acting under the influence of alcohol too. So all of those things should be checked. When you're on duty, stay off alcohol, because you could be acting under that influence, and the whole happy trigger thing comes into play and all of that. But again, we are on the part of citizens now. I
Yeah.
know that citizens have this I don't know how to put it, but this attitude towards the police, that once the police comes to you, the first thing you want to do is to your defense, answer the questions. I think it would, to a large extent, also, put all some of these issues that we see almost every day, we put it to rest. Because when a policeman comes to you, the first thing that the citizen does is to defend, or be on the defensive side. And of course, you know that these things will trigger any police personnel and all of that. But again, I just like the responses, that David Hundeyin and Olu, and they deserve some accolades for doing the job well and doing it right. And then it brings to mind the issue of even the social media. We were celebrating World Press Freedom Day the other day,
Yeah.
and the mention of the fact that, look, social media is beginning to take the place of mainstream media and the traditional media now. This is what we were talking about, that sometimes when these things happen like this, the first thing we do, or some Nigerians do, is bring out their phones, and the next thing they want to break the news first and all of that. But yes, it's good. We see that we see that yielding some kinds of positive results. So it's more like encouraging Nigerians, when we see these things, let us try to also report them instantaneously, and then see reactions from the police force. But more commendable is the fact that David Hundeyin, and of course Dejobi Olumuyiwa Dejobi now, is doing a good job and trying to like sanitize the police force in terms of the prompt responses and reactions that they are giving to some of these things. And that's why you see that when once these videos are posted, the first person, or rather the first people they get to tag is David Hundeyin and Olumuyiwa. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's it on that. We just hope that yes, the right hours of the morning. Of course, remember that May 29 is fast approaching, and there's going to be a transition. A lot of Nigerians are waiting for that day and how it's going to span out. But here, the military is saying something. Of course, the Military High Command has reiterated that the May 29, 2023 handover of power from President Muhammadu Buhari to the President-elect Bola Tinubu will hold successfully without any disruption. Of course, the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Damadami, gave the assurance while answering questions from journalists after the bi-weekly press briefing on activities of the military yesterday in Abuja. He said the police and other security agencies were working hand in hand to neutralize any possible threats to the inauguration of of Bola Tinubu as president. He also added that military officers will forestall any unwarranted happening in the country before, during, and after the transition build to hold at the end of the month. Now, as far as internal security is concerned, according to them, the police still remains the lead agency. The armed forces and other security operatives are only playing a supportive role. I will reiterate that we are on standby to make sure that nothing unwanted happens. The issue of threats to security and stability of the country is addressed promptly. Elections have come and gone, and for the presidential election, a winner has been announced. There is a transition committee in place comprising all members of the security agencies, ministries, and agencies of government to make sure the event is held successfully and without a glitch. Well, we would say that the military is somewhat ready. Of course, it is their more like their primary function to protect the integrity of the country. And we've seen videos, flying to Tinubu. And I think also that this is to forestall any kind of unwarranted circumstances that might happen on May 29, to forestall the inauguration that will be held. But again, kudos to the military for doing the job. Like it has been said, the police is the paramount parastatal that is supposed to handle this, but the armed forces is just coming as a supportive force. But in the video, the viral video we just watched now and all of that, but it's good to know that yes, the police and the armed forces are ready for May 29.
May 29, a big date in the country, a transition, that is, well, highly anticipated, I would say, in some kind of sense. And it's important that security is beefed up at this time, not to even put that lightly. It's important that nothing goes wrong on that particular day. And whatever is the particular reason why the security agencies feel like they need to do more on that day, it's good that they're working with the intelligence that they have gathered so that we see that the whole process is, goes on smoothly. Any other questions that we still have, around the whole process that brought the said person, the president-elect, to that saddle? Let's question it through the channels that have been provided. But peace is a must in our country. No life is worth losing over, a presidential stool at this time. So it's good to see that they are putting, their house in order, dotting their I's and crossing their T's. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just feel if you don't need to be there at the venue of, let the necessary people go. But again, I must say it's not like we're anticipating troubles on that day, so that our minds are at peace. We are not anticipating any kind of trouble, but we just want to be on the safe side.
Definitely.
I think that's it's also a function of having the police force, the Nigerian military there, foresight, so to speak. If something were to happen, are we ready to handle it? And so it's good that we're having all of this information. Also, the minds of Nigerians can be at rest, and we just go through with that particular process. May 29, well, it's coming.
For me, I just feel that it's not about, some agreed political parties trying to, stall the whole process, but it's just the military doing what they're supposed to do. Now, whether there's grievances from any political party or not, it is the primary mandate of the military, the armed forces now, to make sure that everything is guarded on the transition day or the inauguration day. So we need that top security beef up, for that. But again, I think what they're doing is good, because some people might just want to foment trouble, and then it's all politicized, and then begin to see blames going here and there. Oh, it might be PDP that decided to stall the whole process, or it might be Labour Party that are so grieved about the whole inauguration thing. And then maybe it might also be linked to the comment of the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dati Baba Ahmed, that democracy will be stalled if Tinubu is actually inaugurated. So when we put all of these things together, I think that this is where the military, the armed forces is coming from too. But it is the primary objective to make sure that that day nothing cynical actually happens.
Yeah. We'll just quickly move on from certain projects, and there was a conversation that came out of there. The whole phrase of "I owe you nothing," on the premise that Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State had actually asked the president-elect to consider a refund of the monies that the state government used in handling the federal projects within the state. And in response to that, it was said that the president-elect's response was, "I owe you nothing." Now, the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has said his band with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State on Wednesday was wrongly reported by the media. Now, Wike had, during the inauguration of the Rumuola-Rumukota flyover by Tinubu, asked that the money used by the state in erecting bridges on federal roads be refunded by the government. Now, quoting his statement, if we had said because they are federal government roads and we don't do it, who are those to suffer? Wike said since his government had said it did not want people to suffer, he also believed that the federal government should say, look, you have done well for us. These are projects we should be doing. Can you bring your bill? Let us refund you the money you have spent in doing these roads. Now, according to him, that is what is supposed to be for a partnership with a good federal government. I can assure you, as you enter the office and you approve to pay this money back, other states will have the courage to also do the same thing. Now, this is Nyesom Wike speaking to the president-elect. In replying, Tinubu said he owed Wike nothing, since it was the people that would benefit from the project. You can't chuckle at me and make a demand. You are the one living on this road. I commend your effort. You have to lobby me to collect it, he had said. But during a dinner for him last night, the president-elect said what he said was wrongly reported, as he was not even president yet and had no approving power. He told Wike not to take him serious over what he said, saying that he is just president-elect until after inauguration. Now, according to Tinubu, he had no signatory power for any expenditure right now until he had been sworn in as president. The question is, I am president-elect, I have no signature for expenditure until sworn in. How can I make commitment? I cannot sign a dime of Nigeria's money or expenditure. There can only be one president at a time. I believe in fulfilling promises, he said. Okay, so this is the conversation and the explanation that, and it's not like when you say the media reported you wrong, it's like the media, took what you said and, quoted it, but quoting it again.
More like quoting it out of context.
Out of context, yeah. That would be like the angle that they came from, but really was it quoted out of context?
But he has a point there.
Okay.
Yeah, Tinubu has a point. You remember also yesterday when we were talking about this issue, I said some Nigerians are looking at that particular comment as Tinubu indirectly taunting Nyesom.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
Yes. But for the president-elect to also say that he's not the president yet and have no signatory to any dime in the country, he's correct. He's not.
Of course, that's factual.
Of course, he cannot come out and say, yes, okay, so for this, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. He's not inaugurated yet. Okay, he's not. And until he is inaugurated, then he has the signatory as the president to do whatever it is that he wants to do. But let's not also forget that even while he's saying that, his statement was quoted wrongly, he also said yesterday that, what's that now? That he has to be lobbied.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So he said, I owe you nothing.
Yeah.
If you want something from me, you have to
lobby
me
to get it.
So at this point now, we're beginning to ask questions like,
what does it mean to lobby you?
What does it mean to lobby you? And then you're coming out now to say that, oh, you were quoted wrongly. You're not the president yet. And so it's really not correlating.
Yeah, more like he's contradicting himself.
Exactly.
In the statement. And I think for me, funny again is the need to explain that away. Because it might have just blown over, but you can imagine that his attention has been drawn to the fact that, okay, this is making the rounds in the media, and then he says, okay, and maybe the report he has is like more like, okay, it looks like with this particular statement you made in River State, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot, and he has come out to say, oh no, you people are all getting me out of context. The reason why I said this is because currently I'm president-elect and I do not have signatory to this account, so I cannot make such promises. But it's just more like, I think from Wike's end, it's more like, okay, sir, this is what we have done. We hope that when you finally become president, you can consider, giving River State a refund of some of this money spent on federal projects, so that it will encourage other governors to get to do, these kinds of things, and we can, see more developments being engineered in our states, because we are not waiting for, oh no, that's a federal road, that's a federal project. We have the money that we could use, but we are not going to do it until the federal government finds a way to come and see that. And I think that's something that's highly commendable in terms of Nyesom Wike's strides in River State. But seeing that the president-elect is trying to exonerate himself from that.
I think where the party is trying to exonerate himself because questions are being asked. What is the whole lobbying thing about?
That's the main question. But he didn't even address it in this particular. There's quite not an explanation around that.
Yeah, because that's where the question is raising from. You know, we had a caller yesterday that asked that same question. Come on, when the president-elect says you need to lobby me, what does he mean exactly? Okay, so does it mean that any government or any governor that comes and lobbies you, that is when you're going to be approving funds to develop, you know, some federal projects in states? Is that
maybe just like
of
getting
what he was
requests out of the normal things the states will get? Because for instance, now there is no law anywhere that says that the federal government will refund money, be able to go out of the things that are appended in our constitution for me to do for a state government. So maybe that's just where the president-elect is coming from. But I think personally, I like the energy that the president-elect is coming from. So one thing we're also clear about is that in the next 4 years, we're going to be having a very vocal president, someone who will have the energy and time to respond to rebuttals, you know, in the media and all this kind of thing. President Muhammadu Buhari was not necessarily a person who responded to everything flying around in the media, but it looks like we're going to have a tough one on our sleeve coming, you know, in the next couple of days.
Yeah, definitely. He's showing us a different side of himself recently, and I think we're loving it. We're loving the energy as well. But at the
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on Free to Air. with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Heads of government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the lapses in counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum. Live from Uyo, I am Mary Joseph. First in the news this morning is a report that the federal government has warned traditional rulers nationwide to steer clear of mining sites, saying those locations belongs to the landowners. Minister of Mines and Steel Development Olamilekan Adegbite, who disclosed this during the inauguration of the International Gemstone Market, said the Mineral and Mining Act of 2007 was in favor of the rightful owner of the proposed. The traditional rulers must be sought before acquisition or carrying out of activities on mining sites at any location in the country. In a separate development, the federal government has said that the cost of electricity consumption in Nigeria is the cheapest and most afforded by consumers in the world. The Minister of State for Power, Abubakar Aliyu, made this known in Abuja during an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Power and heads of various agencies in the power sector. The minister, in his submission, said electricity was highly subsidized in Nigeria by the federal government, which made it cost to be the cheapest across the globe. We head now to education, where the West African Examination Council, WAEC, has announced that the 2023 examination is scheduled to hold between May 8 and June 2023. WAEC's head of National Office, Patrick Aregan, who made this known at a pre-examination briefing in Lagos, said about 1.6 million candidates across the 20,851 government and private schools registered for the examination. On the foreign scene, the United States has denied Russia claims it masterminded an alleged drone attack on the Kremlin aimed at assassinating President Vladimir Putin. U.S. National Security spokesman John Kirby called it a ludicrous claim. Ukraine has said it has nothing to do with the alleged attack, and reports say that Putin was not in the building at that time. And finally, in sports, Napoli yesterday won the league in 1990, with the Diego Maradona-inspired side adding to their first title 3 years later. Victor Osimhen smashed in the 52nd minute equalizer after Sandy Lovric had given Udinese a shock lead, and Napoli held on to the points they needed to win their third Serie A title with 5 games to spare. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Do have a lovely weekend.
Heads of government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the lapses in counting.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by across them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abel.
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll bring in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Rise and Shine, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Of course, Mary Joseph brought us tidbits of global news, and we've already had several conversations on Rise and Shine this morning. There was a viral video making the rounds of a police officer assaulting a civilian, and of course, the PRs are going to be made. And also, we see the fact that the Nigeria military and a task force say they are ready for the 29th of May inauguration and that nothing will go wrong. Tinubu in Rivers State says his banter and conversation with Nyesom Wike over the refund of money was misinterpreted by the media. Now he's explaining himself as to what he really meant. These and more are some of the conversations we've already had on Rise and Shine. And one way to catch up on all of that and get the real gist is if you're following us across all social media platforms. You can find that at spectrumtv.ng. At this time, let's move straight ahead to Daily Spotlight, where we bring you information from the front pages of the national dailies.
Let's go over now to Daily Spotlight, where we get to share with you information on the front pages of our national dailies. We are starting this comes on the fire. Okay. Outburst on inauguration. Onayekon comes on the fire. And the writer says, senior lawyer knocks cleric for questioning president-elect swearing in. DHQ, that's Department Defense Headquarters now. Nothing will stop May 29 event. And we have that Damawa wreck, others get bail. Oh, wow. And the writer says the House OK's 1 trillion naira loan for federal government. 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. Quite a sad story on that one there, affecting our educational system. And I think that's all the stories that we have on the front page of the Nation.
We move straight to taking this day newspaper. The big story on this day this morning says Tinubu vows to make corruption unattractive, says unity of country not negotiable. There can only be one president at a time. I cannot commit to expenditures, pledges to fulfill all political promises. Onayekan, it's senseless to swear in 2023 winners of polls with pending court cases, calls for review of Nigeria's electoral system. Sudan, about 200 Nigerians stranded on road to Egypt. Okay, May 29, DHQ warns against plot to scuttle handover program. Page 36 is where you can find that particular story. In alliance with Jibrin, Akpabio gets momentum. Over 65 senators sign support. Ashimele waits in the wings, relies on constitution. Kalu still in the race, insists Southeast deserves it. Okay, we also have the picture story from Rivers State, where the president-elect was up till yesterday. Inauguration of ultra-modern magistrate court complex in Port Harcourt. And those are all the stories that we have on the front page of this day newspaper.
We go now to the very next paper, and that will be the Daily Sun newspaper. Of course, Daily Sun says the big story here: returnee students recount ordeal in Sudan, Egypt. The writer says, "We thought we'll die," they declare. Federal government promises 100,000 naira each to evacuees. You can find that story on page 6. Polls. President's inauguration before tribunal's judgment makes no sense, says Onaye Kon. You can find that on page 6. 1.6 million students to write 2023 WASC in 20,851 schools. Details can be found on page 27. NAFDAC bans promotions, sales of breast milk substitutes in health facilities. Page 26 is where you get details of that story. ROI youths accuse NLC president of plotting against handover. And then the writer says, it is ranting of politicians, says workers' body. Page 27 is where you get details of that story. Banking sector credit to private rises to 43 trillion naira in 3 months, says CBN. Moving forward, Nigeria's unity non-negotiable, says Tinubu. And the writer says vows to make corruption in judiciary unattractive. Troops kill 30 terrorists, apprehend 48 in North Central and Northwest. And that's all that we have on Daily Sun.
All right, moving from Daily Sun right now, we'll take the Punch newspaper this morning. Looking at the front page of the Punch, May 29 handover again. Military warns saboteurs. Gowon cancels petition as page 2. Threat to new president's inauguration will tribunal verdict. Troops kill 40 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls. We also see here federal roads. Federal government pays state 859.7 billion naira in 8 years. That's a statement there by Fashola. You can find on page 19. Government agencies, military owe electricity firms, says Senate, page 19. Reps raise Buhari's extra budgetary spending to 23.7 trillion naira. Page 13 is where you can find that story. 70% Southwest private school teachers unqualified, says TRCN. 25-year-old dredging firm worker drowns in Lagos River. Very pitiable story. Sudan, second batch of stranded Nigerians arrived today. Page 7 is where you can find that story. And that's all we have on the front page of the Punch.
Okay, let's see if we have more papers this morning to take. Okay, the Nigerian Tribune is here. The big story says our audio returnees from Sudan recounts. Of course, we have that the rider 4 aircrafts conveying about 400 returnees being expected. Federal government mobilizes 2 Nigerian airlines, Sudanese local airline, No Nigerian who wishes to come home will be left behind, says Humanitarian Affairs Minister. Blames third-party vendors for glitches. Moving forward, APC crisis. Lukman writes Adamu, National Working Committee apologizes for embarrassing party leadership. Page 3 is where you get details of that story. The writer says confirms withdrawing suit against national chairman and secretary. Gunmen kill 3 policemen, cut away arms in Anambra State. All election petitions should be decided before inauguration of government, says Onayekon. No cause for concern over May 29 inauguration, says the defense headquarters there. And we also have stories here saying, I will support education until I leave planet Earth. That's from Afe Babalola. 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified to teach. TRCN. Reps want dead voters removed from INEC register. It's another story that you can find on the Nigerian Tribune, and that's all that is there this morning.
Okay, so we'll take our very last paper for this morning, and that'll be the Vanguard. Looking at the Vanguard this morning, escape from Sudan. With gunfire all over, we thought we would never see home again. Returnees tell tales of woes. Of course, several people saying different things. I had said my last prayers, waiting for the worst. There's students. Some people said they were sexually harassed, broke, things were stolen from them. But lots of story there, but we are glad that they're back here in the country. Tinubu before tribunal's judgment makes no sense. Onayekon, Tinubu will be sworn in, avoid murky waters of politics, Kiyama counters. Election dispute, allow judiciary decide. Gowon tells Atiku Obi others. Troops kill 79 terrorists in Northwest, rescue 136 abducted victims. Ekwe Madu's no fate today. Okay, today is the 5th of May. Oh my goodness. Okay, so industrial court stops NLC TUC strike in Imo. We also have here picture story of returnees, and that's definitely all the stories that we have on the front page of the Vanguard.
Okay, so at this point, we see that there are just a lot of stories on the front pages. Oneya, am I trying to get that name? It's quite a tongue twister now for me. Onayekon, yes, Onayekon. The Cardinal John Onayekon. We know him as a very vocal person, right? And when we look at how the elections for the presidency went, we look at how the whole 2023 general elections went, you understand quite well where Cardinal John Onayekon is actually coming from with his comment on the inauguration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A lot of questions have been raised, right? And I was trying to go through his reason for actually coming up with this kind of comment, towards the inauguration. Now, for him, his opinion is that whatever it is that has to do with elections, tribation. So when someone goes on that saddle, the person knows that the person is facing governance squarely and not running in and out of court because of tribunal cases and all of that. So that's what Cardinal John Onayekon is trying to put forward to Nigerians. But again, would we say that, because we are waiting for the tribunals to conclude? I think the tribunals haven't even started. We are looking forward to May 8th for it to start properly, the proceedings and all of that. And I think it has been given by the Constitution now, or the 2021 Electoral Act Amendment Bill now says that, it's given, I think, 128 or 29, 180 something days, if I'm getting my numbers correctly now. So if we are saying that this is the provisions, the window that the Electoral Act has provided for, then should we actually wait for the 180 something days to wrap up with the whole tribunal issue before we have a government in place? Now, don't also forget that
Clear all of this,
clear all of the issues that have been raised with elections and all of that. And there are people that have kicked against that, having an interim government. So if we are trying to Yes, Cardinal John Onayekon is right in terms of saying that, look, this is what should have been the preferred, decision or the preferred way to go about all of this. Let's make sure we clear up all the mess that has been attributed, to the elections before we even talk about an inauguration. But again, on the other side, will we say to have a government?
At this point, we're still thinking of what's in the best interest of the country. And that is why, in most quarters, the push for let peace reign, and then whatever the court decides when they decide will be followed through. There's also a major problem because this particular election cycle was plagued with a lot of questions. And because of the enormity of the question, it's more like we should have stood down, bend over backwards with how the proceedings for the judicial process would be. We do hope that eventually when the results come out, we'll stick to whatever they decide. But then again, people like the clergy are free to air their views, because there's another set of views that people have been airing in recent times, and I'll just get back to it after this particular call. All right then. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, dropped call there. Please do well to call us back. If you're watching.
If you have a difficulty to reach us, also send us WhatsApp or text messages. And so different people have different opinions as to the things happening in the country. For instance, there are also quarters that are now crying about spilled milk all of a sudden, about the fact that, oh, we wish it was a certain person that had clinched the ticket for the APC presidential candidature, but that is already spilled milk. Does this heat up the polity? Maybe not. People are just airing their views because of the things that they see. And like Festus Kiyamo
is quick. We have a call. Let's just take this very, very quickly. Hello, good morning.
Jeremiah from Port Harcourt.
What's your name, please?
Jeremiah Chimaz from Port Harcourt.
Did you get the name? Okay, so we can't get your name properly.
Jeremiah Chimaz from Port Harcourt.
Fantastic. Jeremiah, go ahead, please. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Concerning the statement of the man of God Onayekon, Cardinal.
Yeah, John Onayekon.
Yeah, it's 100% correct. And I thank God for people like him that are still speaking out, because the intention of the ruling class, more especially APC government, is to cow everybody and make sure that everybody is in fear not to speak out, when they see things going wrong, not to correct it. You see, because, the best thing you can do for evil to triumph, is for you to keep quiet and watch it, So, in as much as things are going this way, are speaking out like him, when you talk about the process, perhaps, why should we wait to handle the issues that come out of election? It will keep everything stranded. See that these things, are laid to rest within a short time to know who is actually winner and who is actually loser. So they know how to do it. But it's just that there are some individuals who believe that it is only in a corrupt way that they will have their way, and allow the constitution to be structured in such a way that is giving room for corruptions. It's giving room to those who want to manipulate systems to have their way. If they want to do the right thing, they don't have to restructure the constitution to pave way for the government empowered to
tackle this morning. Now that's on the sideline now. It's one of the conversations some Nigerians have had, in trying to see how we can move forward as a country. Why don't we review the constitution or the electoral amendment law? Why don't we review it in such a way that whatever it is about pre-election tribunals, whatever it is about even post-election tribunals, can actually be sorted of leadership, and it is governance on the spot and not
unencumbered by tribunals. It's very, very clear, and I think that a perspective that Jeremiah pushed this morning is very important also. The fact that no matter what is going on in the country, we must be able to have people who can speak up. Because then again, it would just mean that if we do not have the likes of John or Nanipekon speaking, it's going to be more like then everyone has accepted what is going on in the country, and that's not necessarily true, because we had more Nigerians on the other divide of either the People's Democratic Party or the Labour Party at this time. All right, let's take your call now. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning.
Alex calling from Edo State.
Alex from Edo. State. Go ahead.
All right. There is something I want to say. I'm still in line of those. The man that called just now, the man you said, he said that the president should not be sworn in before the judiciary case is settled. So what I want to say here is this. For example, you activities in the land again. But I wonder why is it like that in case of election matter, with me because of what what they want to benefit, because they have made the laws to suit them for their own corruption way. That is why they are using this thing now to say that Tinubu must be sworn in before before they finish the matter. What is actually there is
all right. Thank you so much, Alex.
Yeah, salient points by Nigerians this morning. Just sharing their opinions and their sentiments about the swearing in. So that is why we're also ensuring that we do, like the DHQ had released their statements, we do whatever to make sure that there is peace on that particular day, because it seems like we have, people who think
this is not supposed to be.
This is not
right.
Yes. So in their approach to maintaining peace, don't be the ones that cause problems because you thought you were trying to maintain peace. But that's a lot of perspective coming from our two callers already. A lot is happening in the country.
Yeah, definitely.
And a couple more days to that particular inauguration. Like you said, it may be a basic distraction from governance. But then again, when these people have already been sworn into power, how much then can we have a freedom for the judiciary to be able to, get that proceeding without
kinds of interferences?
So that these are the things that a lot of people are going to be bothered about, because he who
pays the piper
detects the tune. Because sometimes we think that these things do not matter, but at the end of the day, you're going to be sending the tribunals out before inauguration. When other basic issues in the court says, oh, if there was even a land, right, a land dispute, no one can do anything on that land until the situation is handled by the court, a judgment is given. Why is it different with the judiciary? And let's not even forget that some of the questions being asked around the electoral process are valid questions, Janice. You said, 25% here, 25% here, there, different things that did not necessarily come together for, who was announced. Okay, let's take your call. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning. My name is Akani from Niger State.
Akani?
Akani?
Yes, Akani from Niger State. All right, good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very beautiful. My own advice to all my poor people. Please let everybody faces well. Forget about all these politics. Everybody really there, they are just working for themselves. So those who doesn't have it now, they are just claiming the power. Those who are there, throughout Nigeria, to say the facts, we are not even enjoying any dividends of democracy. Any poor support you to prayer. If you can't support with prayer, help those people and pray for them. That's my own contribution. Don't waste your life because of anybody. After you waste your, nobody will remember you. So that's my own contribution to all poor men.
Okay, that's Akani's contribution. I agree with don't waste your life.
That's quite deep.
I agree with do not waste your life, but more like we can't say let's not be involved in the politics of our country. Yeah. We need to be, involved in the politics of our country, or else there's a new balance that we had in Nigeria. Let the vehicle not carry us to where we do not know. So we need to speak up when we need to speak up. We need to, go out and vote when we need to vote. We need to make our voices heard.
Absolutely. In the system. And I'm telling you for a fact that there are many more Akani in this country that have also lost hope in the leadership.
Let's
and
just
in
look
the
for how we can feed ourselves.
Let's just look for how we can feed ourselves, yes, and live life. This is very serious. And so when the government is saying, no, do not criticize, do not critique, it's a problem. because Nigerians are asking questions. Nigerians want answers to those questions, and they want things working for themselves, right? But when these things are not working, the more we talk about it, the more it looks as if we're pouring water on the back of a duck and nothing seems to be happening.
Listening.
Then of course, we have people like Akani just go back into their shells and say, oh, there's no God.
Interest of the people that are saddled with, you know, public offices. They really do not do anything in the interest of the people that they cajoled to vote for them. But sometimes I always come back to blame the electorate. You had the power to decide otherwise, but you did not. I know that sometimes the argument is, to what extent do the electorate really have this power when you see that people could use, you know, money and other means to swindle the elections in their favor. But then again, if we continue to stand strong together as, you know, with a strong fortitude, it will get to a point where these politicians cannot break the ranks of Nigerians to even, you know, use money and other means to be able to overturn elections in their favors. But is that where we are right now? No. The inaugurations are coming. So many concerns are being raised. Thank God for the likes of, you know, the clergyman John Onayekon, who has spoken up at this time. I think it really touches my heart when one of our callers said it's important that we have his likes who are not quiet about the differentials that we see in our country. Now, now when people speak in opposition, it's not necessarily that they are right, but it's important that we see and hear of people speaking from other prisms and other perspectives to the issues happening in our nation. So, in as much as that we have people that say, oh no, the APC won the elections right, fair and clear, there are also people that are looking in from different perspectives and different prisms and saying, no, this process is highly questionable and we should do right by Nigerians before, more like foisting a president and them. Yes, so that's just where we are. But a lot of stories on the front pages of our national dailies. It just seems like the inauguration issue is biting hard on everybody at this time. Of course, thankfully, we are seeing that Nigerians that were stuck on their way back to Nigeria, some of
Naira age, is it going to give, or they have given already?
Now, the statement by Dabire, where upon the arrival of the first set was 100,000 Naira was given to each and every one of them, and 1.5 gigabytes of data was given to them, and there was something else that was given to them to put the airtime to was given to them to help them, you know, get back into the system and settle in properly.
Age to evacuate. If it's a promise, that means it hasn't been fulfilled yet. It's in under the works or in the works now and all of that. Okay. And we also see that Tinubu is speaking on the unity of Nigeria as being non-negotiable. And he has also vowed that he will make corruption in judiciary unattractive. We are also waiting to see how that will happen, because a lot of times, you know, when we say that the judiciary is the last hope for the common man, like Akani just said, you know, oh, we poor people, we don't have where to go. The judiciary is supposed to be the last hope for the common man. And when we see that some infiltrations or interferences now is causing our judges, some of our judges now to, you know, be corrupt, it poses a problem to the so we see here that of course Tinubu talking about the unity of Nigeria as well as one statement or one task that some Nigerians have actually said: as you become the next president and mount on that saddle, the first thing you have to do is to unite the country along ethnic lines, because of course we have seen some kind of division, you know, when we even talk about the campaigns and how some people said you don't need to vote for an Igbo man, you need to vote for this kind of person, and all the, you know, the leaked audio between the Labour Party presidential candidate and the clergyman, still along, you know, religious and ethnic lines as well. So that puts, you know, the unity of the country in a place where it was more like disintegrated. We also saw what happened in Lagos State against the Igbos and all of that. So it's going to be a very big task for Bola Ahmed Tinubu as he sits on that saddle, to make sure that the very first thing he does is to be able to unite us. But it's good to hear him say that the unity of the country is non-negotiable at this point in time. Let's be united in our diversity, actually.
Yeah. Well, another really good story here. We know that Chibok girls had been um kidnapped over 14 years ago. If my memory serves me right. But then we have a new story here on the front page of one of our national dailies, talking about kidnappers. Troops kill 40 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls, and we can clearly see. I think it was also 2 weeks ago that we had two of them. Two of those Chibok girls also escaped. So gradually, we are seeing some of these girls still come back. Of course, there's quite a number still held hostage, but their lives, we are looking at the fact that these girls, their lives will never be the same again. Most of their formative, maturing years have been taken from them, and choices have had to be made just to survive. We do hope that the process of integration back into the society will be seamlessly done. All that they need, therapy,
Yeah.
Care from the federal government. They can't come back and then we are talking about that we do not have places to live. We cannot afford daily living. What's the use,
When you even talk about Chibok girls, it takes me back to 2014 when this abduction actually happened.
Yeah.
I think 276 schoolgirls kidnapped from a government secondary school in Chibok, of course, a town in Borno State. 9 years after, we're still talking about Chibok girls. Or even more than 9 years after, we're still talking about Chibok girls. And the question is, will the government say that they do not know where these girls are? Okay.
To be fair to them,
Now,
some operations have been.
Some Nigerians said it was politicized. So how do you? So does it mean that the rescue operation, in getting back the Chibok girls, are they rescuing those people from? That's the big question. What are they rescuing these people from? And these people that are being rescued, are they not giving like information that the government can use in working to get the other people out?
And why are we rescuing in trickles?
In trickles.
In trickles, when we can just
over 9 years after, we are still talking about Chibok girls. Come on.
It's a lot of issues at this time, but these are most of the stories that we've handled on the front pages of our national dailies. Of course, funny story. Well, I think it's funny. Adamawa Rec and others, they
granted bail.
They were granted bail, of course. The situation, of course, is, well, we have begun to see how it's getting watered down by the day. Of course, we saw Yunusari say he does not regret the fact that he announced Binani as the winner of the gubernatorial elections in Adamawa State. And today we are hearing that they have been granted bail, and the sub-theme there says declaring Binani not wrong. So of course you would have to read that story to find out who made that statement. But then we have a call. Let's take this particular one. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Lagos. My name is Akachuku.
Oh, Akachuku from Lagos.
Yeah, I just want to say kudos to you people for work you people are doing. Is a good job.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I don't want to say much this morning, but Nigerian condition always give people headache. I don't want to talk anything about Nigeria matter because it tired me. You come from right or left, it remains the same. What we will continue to be praying to God to help us to make this Nigeria a better nation. So that's what I have to say. Then I want to greet my woman whenever I see her.
Thank you very much, Akachuku. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
your point has been made. Thank you so much for that point there. But I think this is the much we can take. Nigerians are tired actually from what Akachuku has said.
Really, and, every time we think about it, we just have a headache. Front of back, wherever you turn it, we still come back to the same place. Yeah.
So let's just take a short break now. And when we come back, of course, we'll be looking at our focus conversation, very serious issues. We're looking at public complaint and the lack of intervention from government and the role of the traditional institution in solving situations, solving conflicts in Akwa Ibom State. We'll be right back after this time out.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well act. Every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
he linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not. My lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Many thanks for still being there. It's Rise and Shine Daily, the Friday edition. And of course, we're going into a focused conversation this morning. But before we do that, I want to say a very big thank you to all Nigerians that called into the show during the segment where we shared information from our dailies there to make your contributions. But let's look at our focused conversations. Public complaints and lack of government intervention. And of course, we're also going to be looking at the role of traditional institutions. When you talk about conflict resolution, what is the role of traditional institutions? This morning we'll focus majorly on our Akwa Ibom state and look at some of the several complaints and issues a lot of the citizens in Akwa Ibom state have been facing. Honor, who is the founder and president Open Forum. Good morning. And many thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Janice. Good morning, Yai.
Good morning. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Good morning, fellow citizens, and good morning, humanity, as I always say.
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, humanity. Now, we're looking at public complaints and lack of government intervention, and we're also going to be looking at the role of the traditional institutions in all of this. But before we do that, you're wearing a T-shirt that shares hashtag, I'm trying to look at it, hashtag AKS what?
AKSG, I won't die in silence.
Okay, AKSG, I won't die in silence.
That's a quite
and of course, Justice for Citizen MKO, which clearly shows that there's something that you're seeking government intervention for. There's something you're seeking to hear from the government for. But let's talk about public complaints before we even talk about why you're having, I won't die in silence. I know that lots of Nigerians have been on that part this morning where we even look at, some of the comments that were made during our paper reviews. Nigerians are saying, look, we need to talk. Whether we like it or not, we need to talk. We don't have to die in silence. When things are going wrong, we need to open up and say it so that, of course, we get justice for some of those things as well. But public complaint and government intervention in Akwa Ibom State, how has it been so far? Do people complain? Does the government intervene at some point?
Thank you for that question. The first thing we have to look at when it comes to issues like this, topics like this, is that are there institutions that have been designated for people of a state? For instance, Akwa Ibom that we are in, which is the focus, does Akwa Ibom State have an institution in the like of the, for instance, the Nigerian Human Rights Commission? Because most complaints will have to do with human rights. The second will be, does Akwa the institutions at the federal level, like the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, or Code of Conduct Bureau, and things like that? Because I've always maintained that we are a federation, irrespective of the failure of leaders to be able to even define the type of governance structure we are running. We are called the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but then we are running as a unitary state, which by itself is very unfortunate and embarrassing, to say the least. So every state should, as a matter of priority and urgency, set up institutions that reflect the kind of structure that they can run as a federating unit. People in Akwa Ibom State don't necessarily have to go to federal agencies to lay their complaints, because some of the complaints they may be taking may have to do with may have security implications. If such information is known by people outside the state, you can be sure that in a federal institution like the EFCC or any other institution, they can post people from any part of the country to be in the state. In fact, there are some institutions say in Akwa Ibom, federal institutions in Akwa Ibom, you go there, what happens where there's a very serious matter that should be kept secret and treated in like manner
within the purview of
within
the state.
The purview of the state. So Akwa Ibom does not have a public complaints commission. It does not have an anti-corruption commission. In fact, we hardly even talk about fighting corruption at the state level. We hardly hear that we are fighting corruption or some persons have been sanctioned for corrupt practices. So that makes those who have issues and those who are so patriotic not to want to take their matters outside. They try to look inwards. And in looking inwards, when you don't have a institution you can just go to, you now fall back on some persons manning certain offices who, when you write your petition or your appeal, mind you, when we use the word petition, petition is not the kind of interpretation, the original idea for petition is not the interpretation people have, that you are complaining, that you are trying to put trouble. No. Petition is prayer. When you put your prayer to a leader, for instance, the buck stops at the table of His Excellency the Governor. You now write your prayer to the Governor. Your Excellency, please, I am this person and I have this issue. I want your intervention. The natural thing you will expect to that. But from my experience, I have not had such privilege, even in something that involves the integrity of the Governor. And you even write to even the office of the SSG. Or like in my particular case, when I write to the Governor, copy the SSG, or write to the SSG, and when we had the Chief of Staff, I wrote to the governor, copied the SSG, copied the chief of staff.
Now the point is,
Yes.
do these letters or do these petitions?
And I want to comment the way the government has in Akwa Ibom State is run. If you give a letter, they will stamp and receive it. But there's a particular office that they will never stamp your letter in this state. They will only write. The person may not even write. You just send a signature and put his name. Put your name or stamp. We don't do that here in this state. Which means they
So
can.
is that like that particular office? Are they supposed to be able to cater for like public complaints?
Not particularly. Yeah, every office where you don't have institutions that you can go to, you now look at people who, by the virtue of their office, they are institutions. 2, there are no issues that should not get to the highest level where you have failed at the lower level to address it. For instance, I had issues at the local government level and it couldn't be solved. I moved to the commissioner. Thank God I'm even alive to tell this story. The person involved had the relationship with the commissioner. The commissioner took up my petition and showed, see what your secretary has written. And the guy was so happy enough and bold enough to come back and even say how terrible it is. And this has to do with corruption. It has to do with lives of people. So for people like us, by the grace of God, I was well trained, first of all. I thank God for my parents. We were not rich, we were poor. I couldn't even afford to go to school, but we had integrity. We had a family name to maintain. So some of these things people take lost into their hands, because when you are looking for solution, you cannot find it. You do it yourself. You're back on self-help. But I have chosen not to, and I choose the path of rather making appeals and calling on the public to please intervene, like you have seen this. This is deliberate. I have an inscription on the back as well. And you may not, night and day for 7 days to draw attention. That is the height that I can go. So why am I doing this? All efforts to make the governor and those in government who should be able to help the governor to look at the issues raised, issues with evidence.
In perspective
Yes.
now, because we are taking it from a corner,
Yes.
and we might not seem to understand in totality,
Okay.
you know, what the problem is.
Yes.
So I might just have to ask, what exactly is the problem? Why are you going on a 7-day hunger strike? And then at the end of the 7-day hunger strike, what do you intend to achieve from that hunger strike? Will it actually cause the government to intervene in whatever complaints that you're having or putting forward? So what exactly is the problem?
Well, thank you
So
very
that we
much.
understand it from that angle
Yes,
now.
the problem is complex, but the summary is that I have been a victim of what I term as organized oppression and injustices.
Okay.
First, I've been blessed. I've never been in government before, but during the administration of His Excellency, I was appointed into the Transition Council in Seletai, first as a transition member, and it was a nightmare being in the council. We discovered that there's no governance at that level. In fact, I was upgraded. I was promoted to becoming the council secretary. As transition member, I never even had an office. We'll be hanging in the balcony or sitting in the secretary's office, and then you just go. You only go there for FGPC meetings. Or maybe the normal ceremonies, Children's Day, we just go to the venue. From there you go, and you get your salary at the end of the month. And for me,
no form of governance.
it was no form
no
of
form of
governance.
administration.
It became worse when I became the secretary, because first of all, I am a productivity advocate. I am a thinker for daily things in the council, particularly our students that have to go and write exams. They need to come for letters, they need to come for clearance, and the institution that will come and check up, they come to the office. So I was virtually in the office nothing less than 3 to 4 days, sometimes every day. And the people inside the local government council can attest to that. And how did I was able to meet up with that? I had no impress. I had to rely on my salary to even run the council, including official things. And it was so bad that at a point, even God told me, if you leave this council and you don't do something in the order that I created you, till you die, you will not recover. And what did I do? I was also the secretary. I was also the supervisor for education. I looked at the education sector. I organized the first State Education Summit, which was chaired by the late General Akwan. I'd invited the deputy governor. He was a special guest of honor. Though he couldn't make it because he
So
had.
what's the crux of the
The
matter?
crux of the matter is that because of what transpired, even the vehicle, official vehicle attached to my office, I had FGPC approval to raise money, take a loan, repair it at the cost, and then submit the bill for payment because I needed to function. By the time I finished repairing the vehicle, put in the bill, some stakeholders I learned met because they were shocked. The vehicle had been scrapped. When the vehicle came out, they could not imagine what happened. In fact, I had to even use they said, this guy is going to embarrass them. What do we do? Look at the vehicle we are scrapped. And it's as if he's the only one with brain. What do we do? Say, don't pay him. I've not been paid that money till today. Neither was I ever given money of fuel, nor my aide was ever given money. And one thing led to another. Some entitlements were not paid, and I reported to the commissioner then. And what I told you happened. The commissioner told the secretary, the chairman, your secretary, look at what he has written. They say it's not going to anywhere. And I was threatened. I had to petition to, that's what I said. I had to petition to a federal agency to please come to my aid.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? The chairman called me few hours after I submitted the petition and told me, they said, you submitted the petition to this agency. Are you going to work on this earth? And I told him, wherever you got that from, you can't threaten me. I had to go to another.
Between all the relevant.
There was now the target of how to get me killed. I was petitioned that I have a killer gang. While doing fasting in church, 21 days fast, I was picked up from the church. But thank God for Nigerian police. I'm alive today because of God Almighty and Nigerian police. That's why anytime I hear things said about Nigerian police because of some few bad acts there, I say that I am alive today because of Nigerian police. They investigated the matter.
Okay,
and
so
then begged me, and they lamented why we don't have leadership.
Want to, go on a hunger strike.
Yes.
Why are you going on a hunger strike?
I thank you for that question. I
so
said, my story is complex. Sorry, maybe going here and there. Why I'm going is that the greatest king in the land, Okwibomi Bibio, who is the President General of Akwa Ibom State Traditional Rulers Council, became interested in my matters because he was approached by the late chairman of the Elders Forum, Sir Dr. Konopanuko, who had made efforts, even wrote to the government, wrote to the governor, wrote to the SSG to look at the Bedu Mayhem where I was attacked under campaign. My vehicle was burnt. People died in the process. I lost all my literary work. Then, one of his desires in life was to see the Okwibomi Bibio. So we went on a courtesy visit. And after meeting, he went and whispered to him that, please, Okonopanuko used to call Ntenyen my father, a much older person. He died at about 80. They cannot get attention of government. Please, can you look into it? One, he was attacked, his vehicle was burnt, and this has happened, and his life is continuing being threatened. Okay, well, you not even waste time. He said, for your vehicle, I'm going to give you a vehicle. For the matter, don't do anything, I'll handle it. And then I had issue with the government agency that I was invited to do a very tasking, very sensitive and time-bound job. They asked me to buy money to do it. And I did it. I wasn't paid. It became a very big problem. I met people across the state. So presented. And people said, don't worry about that. I'm going to handle it. And I went relaxing. I didn't do anything again. Because I now have hope. Because the king has spoken. And wherever the word of the king is, there is power. Unfortunately, along the line, an idea I gave to government was hijacked and used. And I ended up in court. His Eminence Ntenyen invited the chairman, death of our dead chairman. And then he himself, on his own, raised the issue of my case with the state government over an idea that I gave and directed me to take the case out of court. And I told Ntenyen, if I'm taking a matter that I took to court, the two parties should be able to meet first and then have understanding. Then we'll go and remove the case for settlement before going back to. Meanwhile, I am the Secretary General of the Elders Forum and he's the grand patron. And my chairman said, you've heard. I said, no, I can't argue. And I went to my lawyer and told my lawyer said, that's not possible. What happens to my fees? I said, when we reconcile, we will settle. He said, no, you have to put everything to writing. And I gave authority that His Eminence Ntenyen has directed that I take the matter for out-of-court settlement. The long and short of the story is that that matter has not been settled, and government later went ahead to do it. They abandoned that thing in 2019. In 2020, that it made a proverb. I wouldn't want to use that proverb here, that I should forget about all my cases. The Inselati case, the government agency case that had to do with debts that I'm owing people, and the case that was taken out of court. And my lawyer, by this time, after 2 years, that I found other people suffering and dying, that was when my registering of Open Forum came. By this time also, the attack that I had at Ibedu had affected my spinal cord and my nerve. So I thought I was going to die in 2021. So I said, before I die, let me give to humanity. I used my house, got a loan, got an office, paid 8 times, serviced one of the debt, and I started helping people. And the people are there. Some of them, I'm still having their cases. So on the 15th of March, I now had a World Press Conference, which your station was there to cover, and you aired, and you saw the number of people with cases. My case was the 10th. I just made the appeal. Please, anybody that can speak to Ntenyen should please speak to him over the cases he took out of court and the case he promised to handle, because this administration is going to end. Why should the administration end and leave me where I am in a mess?
Quite a complex
So,
situation.
eventually, him, and I was invited, a panel was set up, and I went with all the documents to show, and they saw it, they know it, they know what I've been going through, and they went. And they came back with a different version, which is not in line with whatever one should. If you are normal, if you have a purpose in life. I obeyed the king. I never showed disrespect. So if there are people that have said some things about me, it's the place of the traditional institution to call me. This has been alleged against you. This person, I'm calling him, I'm calling you, sit down here and sort it out.
And that hasn't been done?
That hasn't been done. So the aspect that I have insulted the king, and for the king, the greatest king in the land, to report me to a group, and a panel had to be set up, very high-powered panel. But unfortunately, I must say this. But in fact, they told me that when they went, it was even His Eminence that brought up my issues. But what was the outcome? That I should come and plead. I said, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to walk on my knees. I'm going to lie flat on the ground as a show of gratitude to Ntenyen that the matter is going to be resolved. And one of them told me, you don't understand what you're talking about. Ntenyen says he won't do anything about your cases. I said, why am I coming to apologize? I didn't disobey Ntenyen. I waited for 4 years since he took out the cases. Who I am a non-state actor, non-violent, but generating ideas. And I've been doing that under very difficult circumstances. The Open Forum Town Hall meeting that we run, eminent citizens, the topic we have addressed, including the need for Akwa Ibom Socio-Economic Development Master Plan, where nobody should come.
End of it.
The 7
Does it mean that after 7 days, whatever it is, issues you're having with the traditional rulers council and Ntenyen will be resolved, or the issues you're having with government in terms of hijacking your ideas, if I got you correctly,
Yes.
because they are multi-faceted right now. You talked about the issue.
Plunging me into a debt because of the
maybe
failed transaction.
This is more, that's why I was saying we needed to like give frame to
Perspective,
this,
yeah.
because
Yes.
this, like, you are in a financial contention with the state government, or is it just a statesman in the government? But there's a financial contention between you and the Akwa Ibom state government, of which you are asking that before this administration goes out, the issue needs to be settled.
Exactly.
And your entitlements paid.
Yes, and your entitlements paid for the works that you had done. And now, the Okuibomi Bibio, who is like the highest king in the land.
He's the highest.
Who is the highest king in the land, rather, had promised to handle your issue out of court.
Exactly.
Asking you to get the issue out about to fill up.
Exactly.
So you're saying that on the 8th of May, you're going to, start a hunger strike to pull the attention of Ntenyen, pull the attention of Governor Domimano to resolve your issue before they go.
Yes.
The question is, how effective is it going to be?
When I saw that the committee set up by the elders for them to look at the matter, they asked me, this is what you're going to do, which is go and beg, and you are begging by their understanding with the Okibos that nothing will be done. I said, no, that's not possible. One, I am a conscious soul. Now, the bottom line is, I want to say thank you to Ntenyen. And they said it's not possible. What is the way forward? I said, please, you go back and tell Ntenyen the government is about to end. this government should not end without taking this matter. Let them please, because the greatest one, I must say this, the father of the state, who even happens to be my in-law, my wife is from the same village, close people. What have I done to have my name being blacklisted? So that is strange. And since I'm non-violent, I am ready to afflict myself, and I'm calling on the world to please, like I saw, anybody that has the ears of Ntinyan should please appeal to them that what has Citizen Matthew Kofi O'Connor done, that he has these issues. I've been running hashtags for a very long time. AKSG, like you've seen it here, I won't die in silence. And then I'm only looking for justice. If I've committed a crime that requires me to be punished, the due justice is to punish me, where I do not apologize. But if I've not done anything, and some persons feel that because I hold contrary views, spirit, I also have people that have brought their cases, some of them have died.
All right.
So I'm appealing to the world, the hunger strike, I'm afflicting myself and telling God, this is all I can do. But at the end of the 7 days, if nothing is done, God forbid, we will get to the next level, because my life,
the traditional institutions and every other agency, you know, that is related to your issues, to look into the matter and also give help. Is more like giving assurance, you know, to citizens in Akwa Ibom State that, look, when you have a complaint and you come to government is there to protect you and provide the relevant welfare that you are supposed to, you know, have. But we say a very big thank you to you, and then we hope that your issue will be addressed appropriately by the appropriate quarters as well.
I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much for making me to be heard. Thank you very much.
This is the much we can take actually on the show this morning. It's Friday, Lifestyle Friday, but we had serious issues.
No, but this is still lifestyle, because it's more like give back to the society, you know, something you need. Our mental health is important as we go through it. So this is also appealing for Citizen Matthew O'Connor's mental health and that of his family. It's life with faith in Nigeria. We can be better again. My name is Uyai Anekan.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see you again next week. And Akachuku, well done. Thank you. You have no woman on Rise and Shine set.